everybody?
What's happening? It's been forever.
Oh my goodness. Today is Tuesday, June 10th. We're already in June 2025, and this is the Meninist on YouTube.
Yes.
I bet nobody knew we had a YouTube channel, and that's because I keep getting us banned.
Yeah.
We opened the YouTube channel when we first started podcasting, and I just keep on getting us banned. Me and my mouth. I know that's shocking to everybody, but YouTube has very stringent rules, so we're going to do our best
We're gonna behave ourselves.
to try to behave. But we wanted to try it out only because YouTube is a bigger, well-known platform. We feel like maybe we can get our word out a little bit better, just like on Rumble, and we will upload the podcast to Rumble. But just like on Rumble, please subscribe, like, share, all the things on the YouTube videos. That should be much easier than Rumble. Rumble can be kind of tricky if you're not subscribed. But YouTube is very, very easy. We would love for you to, so we can build our audience here on YouTube as well.
Yes, we'd love to see you guys and hear your feedback.
You can comment live.
That's right.
On YouTube. So here we are.
And we're basically a father and daughter team.
Welcome to you YouTube subscribers.
That's right.
We are a father-daughter team. This is my biological father.
Hello,
Tony.
everybody.
I'm Amy. Tony is retired IT guy. I am a retired, I guess if you want to call it, public school teacher. And together we're conservatives. We love talking politics. And basically we were talking amongst ourselves and we thought, what are we doing? We should start a podcast. And we've been on Rumble all these years.
When the family gets together, we start talking politics.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
we start talking about the topics that are going on. And
yes.
We are conservatives.
Yes.
We are Trumpers.
Yes.
But we do love everyone, and basically we decided to just buy some equipment, and it's not really fancy stuff here,
Nope.
but we want to keep it simple because we are simple people.
Well,
we're simple folk.
Yes. Well, ever since Trump was elected for a second presidency, YouTube has been definitely more open to conservative viewpoints, whereas before, under the Biden administration, if you were to, say the word that mainly means this, you know what I'm saying? Like in the arm, if you were to say that word, starts with a V, you'd be banned. Your whole channel would be taken off.
Right.
But now you can get away with a little bit more political dialect on the right and not get banned. So we thought we would try it again.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, so here we are.
We're going to behave ourselves. We're not going to say crazy stuff.
If all of a sudden an episode disappears, it's Amy running her mouth. Because I try hard, but sometimes, especially with certain topics, I just don't behave.
So YouTube world, we're going to try to keep it at bay.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, but we enjoy the conversation.
Yes.
We enjoy interacting with folks online.
Yes. And YouTube world, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and link our Rumble channel. That way you can go back. I'll try to add all of our Rumble. I'll see how it works. We're still learning the YouTube ways, but I'll try to add all of our Rumble podcasts we've done up until this point, because we've been solely on Rumble for like the last, 2-3 years?
2-3 years, yeah.
And at least 2 years. And because if you notice our YouTube videos, you'll see like episode 1, episode 6, episode 9, episode 16. There's not like episodes in order because all of those have been banned. So now, hopefully, with a little bit less stringent rules on YouTube, we'll be able to add our episodes consecutively.
We'd love to. Hopefully, it'll work out for us.
Yes, we'll see.
But in the meantime, we do have an email.
Yes.
That you can email us at.
It's themeninist1621@gmail.com, and you are welcome to email us with topics or questions or just more information. We'd love to hear from you. You can comment below on the YouTube video. You can subscribe to our Rumble channel, which I will link below, and go watch those previous episodes. As a former public school teacher, I really get into the research aspect of political topics rather than just spout off my mouth. So, and I do provide links to the research that you can go look at on those Rumble episodes. And then on YouTube, I will do the same. I will comment in the comments and attach all links, and so that way you can have it, or I'll just include it in the description. As we're learning YouTube, just be forgiving to us as we learn it and figure this out. It's just a little different.
Yeah, shoot us a little grace. We appreciate it.
That's
so
right.
anyway, it's
Yes.
been a crazy week politically.
Oh my gosh, it's been a crazy. We've been out of pocket even on Rumble for a little while because
We have been because we've been vacationing.
yes, I've been out of town.
Yep.
We have a side hustle that this time of year is just hopping.
It's crazy.
So we've been real busy with it, and sometimes we'll doctor's appointments and specific days. I have a young family. Poppy's retired. It's got some stuff going on. Just it doesn't work on the day that we would normally podcast. So we are going to try to get back into it, though. I love doing it weekly. It seems like our audience starts to build as we do it weekly, and then we putter out. we get busy, and then we come back. So it's like little hiatuses.
Yeah.
But we do have a pretty active audience on Rumble, and people that I know who watch it comment all the time that they love seeing us. And so we love being there. So we're just going to try it on YouTube now and maybe build a new audience there.
It'd be great.
With new viewers. But
So
anyway,
we got LA. So LA's burning.
Yes, again.
Hey, come on, people.
It seems like y'all love to go out and burn stuff when President Trump is president. I'm not sure what that is, but do you remember the Summer of Love in 2021?
Ooh, yeah, man, God, that was nasty.
Yes, and now here we are with 2025. We got riots in Los Angeles, but this one's a little bit different because this one involves people that aren't from the United States. Some people that aren't from the United States, ironically protesting in the United States against the United States government kicking the illegal aliens that are protesting against themselves. It's a whole lot.
By the way, keyword illegal.
Yes, but you have basically illegal aliens in the United States protesting in the United States against the United States getting rid of illegal aliens.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I know it's
wow.
like a weird dichotomy here. But primarily these protesters are of Mexican either descent or straight from Mexico, and they are protesting against Trump's basically move to get illegal immigrants out of the United States. So they're protesting in the United States against Trump trying to take them out.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But they're not from here. They were not born here. They're here illegally, which is mind crazy. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But just quickly, imagine going to China with an American flag and protesting in China against China not allowing Americans to protest in China. That's essentially what it's like.
Right, and then go ahead and burn a Chinese
flag in China.
In the Red Square.
Yeah, go ahead
and let's see how that's going to work out for you.
I want to know. How's that going to work? I want to know.
I heard Chinese prisons are not a good place.
No, I heard that too. I absolutely heard that. I'm interested to see how what the mindset is of these illegal immigrants thinking it's okay to protest against themselves in a country that they're not citizens of. Like, that's wild to me. So anyhow, we're going to talk about it because what I want to remind the American population, though, is that the media is going to use these protests in California to try to spike a narrative that's just absolutely false. And we're going to get into it because it's not what it seems, of course. And typically we Americans, we do not do our proper research. And so we start spouting off the mouths blindly based on what we see in the media. And then it turns out several months later, the truth comes out, and then it's crickets from the very people who were spouting off at the mouth and to begin with.
Yeah.
So I decided to get into a little bit of the education of why illegal immigrants should not be allowed in our country in the first place. And the key term is illegal. We're not talking about legal immigrants. If you are a legal immigrant, if you're not, and I have to speak clearly here, if you are a legal immigrant, then by all means, you are welcome here. You've done it through the process. You've done the paperwork. You've taken the test. You've spent the money, and you have become a legal immigrant. That's totally different.
You took the vow.
Yes.
To become a U.S. citizen.
That's correct.
You know, and I think you even have to pass some sort of test.
You have to take a test.
Yeah.
It's costly. You have to pay money. But what you're saying is, I love this country and I want to do it the right way, which is different than I don't care about your rules, and I'm going to become a criminal the moment I step over the border illegally. And so I've come into the country as a criminal because I broke the laws of immigration, and now I expect some sort of rights as an illegal immigrant because I happen to make it across your border without being caught. And no, that's not okay, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, this has all started because President Trump has produced a bill called the Big Beautiful Bill that has recently passed through Congress, is headed to the Senate, and if Senate passes it, which everybody's saying is going to happen, then it'll go across his desk and he'll sign it into law. And a part of this bill talks about illegal immigration. So I found this particular part of the bill, and I want to remind everybody this is the start of why these protests in California are happening. Papa, if you'll pull that up. Protests are happening in California at this time because this bill is currently headed to the Senate, where it will probably be approved, then to the desk, it'll be signed into law, and that's it. Period. You can't argue. You don't like it, you have to change the law. So,
well, let's unpack this a little bit because you've heard many of the mainstream media personnel and journal reporters saying that, if you don't have legal migration coming in, then you don't really have a border. And if you don't have a border, you really don't have a country.
that's right.
Because you got to be able to protect your borders both. And by the way, they're sneaking in now from the north. So
That's
they're coming
right.
in through the north, through Canada, because they know that the southern border has basically been shut down.
Yes.
You can't come in through the southern border, and now they're
Yes.
coming in through Canada. So, the protection because you have no idea really who's coming in, right?
That's right. There's no really way to vet these people accordingly to make sure. Well, first of all, they shouldn't come over. It's illegal.
Right.
Period. But second, if let's say we do have immigrants coming over illegally every now and then, they're able to get through. Who are these people? And we've learned through.
But you really can't blame them because, everybody likes milk in their coffee. Not
Yes.
everybody, but a lot of us.
Yes.
And we like honey on our toast.
Yeah.
So it's a land of milk and honey.
That's right. That's right.
So, you've got an opportunity to come to the United States and make a better life for yourself, but you got to do it through legal channels.
That's
you can't
right.
you can't just invade the border.
But what I'm going to stop you because
ahead.
that tends to be a Democrat talking point. Is the reason it's justified that illegal immigrants are coming over is because their countries are suffering and they want a better life. The problem is when you allow these people to come in illegally and you do not vet them and you do not know if they are decent citizens, because President Trump says it all the time, countries aren't going to send their best. They're going to send their worst over to our country. And if they are not decent citizens, then actually the notion of providing them a better life, the excuse of why they should be allowed to come over there, actually hurts the lives of American citizens through many, many ways.
Mm-hmm.
One, obviously, is through crime, but two is taxes. If you're not paying taxes like the American citizens are, then it hurts our economy. Third, these illegal immigrants aren't going to white, wealthy neighborhoods. They're going to black communities, already legal Hispanic communities. And the problems with that is now you've got more crime in these communities. And so the problem, the left-leaning talking point of, well, these people deserve a better life, actually is an excuse that's hurting the American population by far. And now we have seen the repercussions of that talking point when millions of illegal immigrants came in under the Biden administration. And now we're seeing that they're causing a detriment in our country. When you boil it down to Democrat talking points, that's not actually why they want these people to come into our country. What they want is a brand new voting base. They want to bring these illegals into already blue cities to up the voting base, to change the census in order to add more seats into Congress, add more seats into Senate, and thus change the numbers to give Democrats more power when it comes to elections. That's why they want them. But it's under the guise of they want a better life.
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
the thing is I want you to go to your home country and do the work it takes to provide a better life for your family there.
Mm-hmm.
Before you start coming over and start wreaking havoc in our country. Because our country already needs help as it is with our infrastructure, with our economy, with the things we got going on with homelessness in our own country, crime in our own country, without bearing the burden of these non-taxpayers coming in and wreaking havoc in our country. Another thing is that they come in for a better life here, they make money, and then they send that money back to their home country.
Yeah.
They're not putting it in ours, which then infiltrates our economy. So you've got a lot of issues under the guise of they want a better life.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what they should be doing is taking that energy and making a better life in their own country, not coming over here and potentially destroying the country that we have over here, which we have now seen has been happening with the millions of immigrants under Biden.
The argument's going to be, well, you know what? They're taking away the jobs of the American people when they come in illegally, because they're basically working for, farmers. They do a lot of the service work that really Americans don't want to do. So they get hired as an illegal, and now they come into society. So you have this dichotomy of these people coming in and taking American jobs.
Well, there is twofold to that, too. And I'll say this. I know some people in our community that own businesses in construction.
Right.
And they hire these illegal immigrants for cash because, one, you don't have to claim cash on taxes. So
Right,
it benefits the American company
Yep.
to do that. Two, the illegals will work. That is true. But the problem with it is that because the American company doesn't have to pay taxes on the cash that they pay these illegals, actually, if that portion of it is taken out, in other words, if you don't have illegals to pay cash under the table, and now you have to pay American citizens rightfully because the American citizens have to pay taxes, you're actually adding cash back into the U.S. government via taxes, and it's better for the economy. See, American companies that hire these illegals are just as guilty as the illegals taking the job.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing right by basically cash under the table and not having to pay taxes. So they're just as fault. But if you take the illegal alien component out, these American construction companies will have no choice but to do it right.
Well, the argument would be, wait a minute, Amy, they're actually feeding the tax base.
What do you mean?
Well, if they work, they still have to pay taxes, whether it be sales tax, because they can divert around any type of Social Security tax.
Yes.
Or income tax,
at
the federal level, but they're still going to acquire goods, and in those goods are going to be paid tax, sales tax
maybe
and state tax.
In some of these blue cities, those taxes are different than in the red. And so they're not necessarily paying the taxes within the city that the Americans are having to pay federally and state-wise.
But the argument would be, wait a minute, they're adding to the tax base. Even though they're illegal and here illegally, they still are adding to the tax base. But in that is the argument.
Okay, all right.
From a leftist point of view,
yes.
They're arguing that point. Wait a minute, they're adding to the actual tax base.
All right, well, let me counter. What pays Social Security?
But wait a minute.
And Medicaid.
The counter would be that, wait a minute, hold back. They're also taking from Medicare, Medicaid.
Right. And who pays into Medicaid and Medicare?
We do.
American taxpayers.
Right. At the federal level, by the way.
Right. So that's my point. The leftists are wrong. They're not actually adding to the tax base. They're subtracting from the tax base because the majority of tax base is federal taxes and state taxes. And if you're getting paid cash under the table, you're not paying federal and tax and state taxes.
Yeah.
So your menial sales tax at Walmart ain't paying jack crap towards your Medicaid and your Social Security.
Correct.
So they're actually taking, because if they go to a hospital, they get treated for free. And
That's
they
right.
actually are allowed to put their kids into public school systems, which is federally tax paid. So I'm paying for their kid to go to school. They're not paying for their kid to go to school. And I'm paying with the taxes in my job that I'm working hard for.
Yep.
They're not. They get paid cash to which they send back to Mexico.
Yeah.
So it's not. That's a lie. That is a lie. It is made to pull at the heartstrings of Americans to say, oh, they're adding to the tax base. No, they're not. I'm sorry. A sales tax at Walmart is not paying for your Medicaid, and it's not paying for your Social Security. And they're getting free care in hospitals. They're getting free school system that we're all American citizens are paying for. That is a lie.
Yeah.
It's made to pull at the heartstrings. And case in point, these non-citizens, these illegal immigrants who are protesting in the streets of California against our own immigration laws.
This is a good segue.
This is what it looks like. If you could please play that first video. This is what y'all Democrats are fighting for.
Chaos erupts here in LA. Immigration raids triggering protests from Paramount to downtown. And tonight, an unlawful assembly has been declared as President Trump announces he will be deploying thousands of National Guard troops here to Los Angeles. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the News at 10. I'm Rick Chambers. Major developments during a second day of violent confrontations between protesters and federal agents who are out on the streets trying to round up undocumented immigrants. As I mentioned, President Trump has ordered 2,000 National Guard members to counter that violence. And that angered Governor Newsom, who said that the move was purposely inflammatory and will only escalate the tensions. We've got team coverage tonight of these raids. KTLA5's Lindsay Pena is in downtown L.A. I-5 is over the city. Situation as well, but let's go to Chris Wolf. He's in Compton tonight where the clashes first erupted earlier. Chris?
Rick, unrest in Southern California continues tonight with more clashes between protesters and federal agents and deputies and police over expanding immigration operations. Take a look at the scene behind me. This intersection here in Compton has been the scene of several street takeovers, so it is a hotspot for activity. We've seen continual fireworks going off. The police chopper is overhead. Now President Trump says he is sending the National Guard to this region. Last night we were in downtown Los Angeles, as many viewers may remember. Earlier today we were in Paramount, now Compton, all volatile locations. Chaos and calamity rocked Paramount Saturday on the second day of demonstrations against federal immigration operations in Southern California. KTLA was on the ground and in the air, capturing the explosive environment. The mayor of Paramount says tension escalated after U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and other federal agents were apparently staging at or near a local Home Depot center.
And ICE is here, terrorizing the community.
Throngs of protesters gathered in the industrial area, sparking more clashes between law enforcement and members of the community. Crowds taunted authorities, with some people going so far as to block a U.S. Marshals service bus, while others hurled rocks and other objects at law enforcement vehicles, according to the L.A. County Sheriff. Federal agents responded with pepper balls, rubber bullets, tear gas, and flashbangs.
In the last several hours, unfortunately, the crowd has grown. We believe at this time it's at approximately 350, maybe 400.
We'll add this link to the description so you can go back and look at the whole thing if you want to. But this is just a small sampling of what's been going on in Los Angeles. Notice that, sorry, I got my own hair in my mouth. That's gross. Notice though that it's the Mexican flag that's being flown. So these are illegal Mexican immigrants who are protesting in our country with their flag, having a problem with the fact that that the President Trump and his administration is trying to deport them because they are illegal. And again, as we said at the top of the podcast, go do that in any other country. And we're going to get into that a little bit further. But did you know actually that President Trump, what nobody talks about under the President Trump administration and the mainstream media, is that deportations under ICE, the highest year so far between 2020 and 2025, and deportations was 2023 and 2024 under the Biden administration. And so I'd like to get into that just a little bit before we move on, because that actually will show that the mainstream media is only selective in talking about this subject matter when it's President Trump in office. But everybody was hush-hush and completely cricket silent under the Biden administration. And so, Pop, if you will go to... let's see. I can't really see your subjects because it's off the screen. But I think it was the website that had the ICE paint Trump in a bad light, because obviously these actions, the same actions were happening under the Biden administration by far way more than the Trump administration yet in 2025. And yet you've got people out trying to burn down California because they're mad at the very same actions that were taken by the Biden administration. Way more so, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured we would talk about that because, of course, nobody is. And it irks. One thing that ticks me off more than anything is a false media narrative in order to paint President Trump in a bad light. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
You're just doing it purposefully because you have nothing, Democrats. You have nothing. There's no subject matter that you can attack at this point. Eggs are lower, gas is lower, the economy is better. Trump is surging in the likability polls. The Democrats have nothing. You guys have no leadership. There's nobody to run the DNC. Hogg just got booted out. AOC is going nowhere. And now you've got nothing. You've got absolutely nothing, no future, nobody heading and leading your party. So the only thing you've got left is to demonize Trump, and the only way to do that is to go ahead and try to burn down California.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so we wanted to talk about it today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to insert our opinions into why do we think all of a sudden illegal immigrants have the chutzpah to try to burn down a city that doesn't belong to them.
Yeah.
And so my opinion is that the steps that the Democrats have taken so far to take out Trump when he was president the first term into Biden's term, they went with legal action first, and they tried to impeach twice.
Mm-hmm.
And they did impeach him in the House twice, but it never made it to the Senate, so he wasn't impeached from president.
Right.
And that didn't work. And so we've talked about in previous podcasts in the unleashing of COVID, and that didn't work. And then you've got the trying to paint him as a sexual predator, and that didn't work. And then you've got the and you and I have talked about it, how everything rolls off his back like water on a duck's back. Just everything, nothing sticks, nothing works. And then we've got the indictments. I think there were 43 of them total indictments, and that didn't work. And then it was people like Jean Carroll, whatever her name was, that crazy blonde lady that said that she was assaulted in a fitting room.
Yeah,
that didn't work. And you got Stormy Daniels and her crazy lawyer. And that didn't work. And everything they tried, the P tapes and the grab them by the P's and all the things didn't work. And it was one thing after another, after another, after another. And none of it worked. And so now the latest thing is that they're going to attack him on is his stance on illegal immigration. The thing about the second term is that Trump doesn't have to re-campaign. He doesn't have to campaign again because it's his second term. And presidents can only go for 2 terms.
Right.
So there's not a need to be politically correct. There's not a need to be soft. There's not a need to try to, play on both sides. Basically, Trump doesn't give 2, and he is going to do what's best for the country, whether the Democrats like it or not. So there's a stance of, you bring illegal immigrants to the street in Los Angeles to burn it down, we're hitting you with National Guard. And if that doesn't work, we're going to go ahead and bring in the Marine Corps, which happened a couple days ago.
Yeah.
They have not assembled on the streets yet, but they're heading over there being prepared. And Gavin Newsom, of course, looks like an idiot because as governor, here he has totally lost control of a city and all of his people can see it. And it's in the name of trying to protect or these illegal immigrants and their ability to protest. But the fact of the matter is the First Amendment only applies to legal U.S. citizens. It doesn't apply to illegal citizens. So no, you don't have a right to get in the streets and protest if you're not a citizen of the United States. And we do have the right under the Insurrection Act, which is ironic, to bring National Guard and stop this nonsense. And that's what he's doing. And so they're mad. And so what they're going to do, they're going to demonize him in the media. They're going to personally attack Trump. Gavin's talking all kinds of doo-doo, talking about how go ahead and arrest me. He's just being stupid. And Trump is doing what he promised to do, which is secure and safeguard the United States and its border. And they're mad. They don't like it. And so Tim Pool, who I listen to on a regular, he has a podcast called Timcast IRL every night at 8 o'clock on YouTube. Basically did a quick synopsis of what he has to say with regards to the United States illegal immigrants coming in and trying to speak their mind on U.S. soil when they're not legal, and what would happen if we as U.S. citizens go to other countries and pull this same garbage. And so I think that's where you start at the 18-minute mark.
It is not just an insurrection in Los Angeles. It is sedition, and it is invasion. The riots we saw over this past weekend are continuing into today. They expect to have a large organizational phone call later tonight about protests against Donald Trump. As for the riots specifically in L.A., been detained in the recent raids carried out by immigration officers of the Trump administration. The arrests made in L.A. in the immigration raids triggered a wave of protests in the region, which has even led to the deployment of the U.S. National Guard. Quote, Mexicans living in the United States are good men and women, honest people who went to the U.S. to seek a better life for themselves and support their families. They are not criminals. They are good men and women. Indeed. Scheinbaum also stated that multiple Mexicans were arrested in the ongoing immigration raids. The count, as suggested by her, currently stands at 35. During her moving speech, she asked everyone to stand by the arrested Mexicans. And there it is. As it's been interpreted, many have said that she has called for the rioting. You cannot, you should not allow a foreign leader to defend these invaders and then call on those in this country to defend them. We are entering very serious territory here. These are not citizens. She even said these are Mexicans who are in the United States. Immigration is arresting and deporting individuals who are not here legally. That's normal sovereignty. This is not, it's not special. It's not unique. Countries remove people who enter illegally. I don't care if you're France, Japan, or Burundi. You enter the country illegally, you are subject to removal. That is defense of a sovereign nation. What do you do when your neighboring country tells people in your country to stand by and defend people who have entered illegally that you are seeking to enforce against? This is encouragement of invasion. But they're seeking a better life. Of course they are. Why else would anyone invade any other country? Did the Vikings seek a better life when they ransacked, raped, and pillaged in the British Isles? Of course they did. I'm not suggesting the Mexicans coming to this country are burning buildings down, although some in the riots apparently are. The overwhelming majority are trying to get jobs. But this is illegal, and this country seeks to defend its borders. From the most ridiculous of invasions, the argument has always been a better life. For what other reason? When religious fanatics invade another country, they say it's because these poor people are being exposed to a false god, and we can give them a better life. They should be adhering to us. The world leaders don't come out and say, like, we want to make their lives worse. Sometimes, don't get me wrong. I'm saying it's a tendency. It's a tendency. The Vikings raid the British Isles. They rape and pillage so they can make their lives better. They steal the women, and they go back, and guess what? They did live better lives. They got free stuff, stealing chickens and young women, stealing treasure. When people come into this country, displacing our workforce, and many of them committing crimes, not all of them, we, as a nation, have to protect our interests. This is where we get into very serious insurrectionist territory. And then what happens when Democrat governors defend them? This is where it gets truly scary. The Post-Atlanta reports, a coalition of Democratic governors issued a joint statement Sunday condemning Trump's decision to deploy the California National Guard without Newsom's consent, calling it an alarming abuse of power. In fact, it's not. They said it undermines both state and public trust. No, it doesn't. Trump would not, like, here's the question. Does Trump have the legal authority to take command of the National Guard of a state? Yes. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. If he didn't have that authority, the National Guard would have said no. I do believe we are entering the possibility of, man, I don't know how to describe it. You know, Donald Trump occupying state governments, federal law enforcement shutting down local law enforcement. It's what would you call it? Occupation, I suppose? In California, I mean, I suppose you can argue it's happening. The sheriff says he's not going to enforce these laws. The police are standing down. So Trump sends in the National Guard to stop this. ICE and the feds are going in to enforce federal law. If Democratic governors say we will not enforce the law, and then Trump has to send in National Guard or Marines and declare an insurrection, that's where things get real crazy. The occupation of Democratic states because they're refusing to enforce the law. And then at what point do we actually intervene at the federal level in their state governance? I mean, like beyond law enforcement. 22 Democratic governors have co-signed a statement amid escalating violence. Let's pull this up. Here's their statement. Statement from the Democratic governors on Trump's use of the California National Guard. And it includes a big list. I'm not going to read all their names. President Trump's move to deploy California National Guard is an alarming abuse of power. Governors are the commanders-in-chief of their National Guard, and the federal government activating them in their own borders without consulting or working with their state's governor is ineffective and dangerous. Further threatening to send the U.S. Marines into American neighborhoods undermines the mission of our service members, erodes public trust, and shows the Trump administration does not trust local law enforcement. Well, they're refusing to enforce the law. What would one do? It's important we respect the executive authority of our country's governors to manage their National Guards. And we stand with Governor Newsom, who has made it clear that violence is unacceptable and that local authorities should be able to do their job.
And
How can we allow this to happen? I don't get it.
Well, that's what Tim Pool exactly is saying, is that 22 Democrat governors have said that they side with Gavin Newsom to allow this to happen. So you're basically siding, and by the way, I personally like it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But basically what they're saying is not like it from the standpoint of legal, like it for political reasons. It's not a good look for the Democrats. But anyways, the Democrat governors are saying that they side with Gavin Newsom in fighting against Trump being able to send the National Guard into California because Gavin Newsom has decided not to.
Right.
So what the Democrats are saying is, no, we like the look of illegal immigrants coming in and destroying U.S. cities. That's a good look. Let's let it happen. And what they don't realize is that even Democrat voters are not going to stand for U.S. cities being destroyed by illegal even Democrat moms are not going to go for that. Even the lefty of lefty moms are not going to want illegal immigrants destroying the cities that they live in. That's a safety hazard for them, their children, your occupations, where you work, your businesses. That's not okay. It is a terrible look and a terrible stance to say it is okay for governors not to protect U.S. American citizens against foreigners trying to come in and infiltrate. And you're that's politically, that's a you guys are not ever going to be voted in. Like, that's not good for midterms. What are you doing?
You're going to destroy a U.S. city, let's say a blue U.S. city, for the sake of politics.
Well, the difference between the Summer of Love and this is that it was although it was wrong and crazy, it was U.S. citizens burning down U.S. cities. That was definitely given more grace than illegal immigrants burning down U.S. cities. That's a totally different subject. When Americans are watching non-Americans burn down their own cities, you're going to have a completely different reaction than when you have Americans burning down American cities. Because in the Summer of Love, it was under the guise of racism, Black Lives Matter, and George Floyd, remember?
Yeah.
So U.S. citizens had an emotional reaction to this, therefore they wanted to go burn it down. That sounds crazy to me. I totally disagree. But that is a different reaction than non-American citizens burning down because they're not allowed to live here illegally. Like Newsom, this ain't a good look, honey. This not going to do anything good for you. And the 22 Democrat governors, what y'all doing? It's almost like, you know what? We want to be voted out. So let's go ahead and agree with this. Like,
well, they're grooming him for
midterms,
2028.
yeah,
You're
but-
right. This is not a good look for him because
abort.
this is what you got.
Abort.
This is what you got, huh? You're going to allow this to take place in your own city.
Any Republican counter person that's going to be running with you is going to bring this up. And it's not going to be a good look for you, Gavin Newsom.
Definitely.
Like, how are you going to defend this? Basically, you're screwing your own people for people who aren't American citizens. What are you doing? Like, that's insane. Like, this has happened in history before, and I hate to bring it up because the right gets crucified for bringing it up. But
it is crazy.
World War II, 1940s, people coming in and that are non-citizens infiltrating your country and taking over. What it did not fare well. Like, if you look at history, it never fares well, and that's what Tim Pool was trying to say. Like, when the Vikings come in and rape and pillage, it was to better the Vikings. But look what it did to the people who live there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what are we doing? Newsom, like Democrats, nix. Get rid of. Don't continue on this. This is not a good look. And politically, as a conservative, I love it. Keep it up. Like, you're going to lose big time. Thank you. We're going to take over California too. Like, what are you doing? But anyways, I want to talk about, because my husband has a famous saying. He's like, once it strikes the pocketbook, it's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if
yeah.
it touches the American money pocket, the
Oh,
wallet,
yeah.
whole different ballgame. So let's talk
Whole
about
different world.
how much does immigration cost, since we were talking about taxpayers earlier. How much does immigration cost the American taxpayer? I think I sent you an article.
Let's take a look.
is when you look at those riots, guess who's paying for those people to be able to riot?
Mm-hmm. You and me. Anyway.
Y'all like paying for that? You like paying for illegal immigrants to destroy your own cities?
I don't get it, man.
The 22 Democrat leaders, what the heck? That's what you're saying is okay. That American population need to fund these people to destroy our own cities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, case closed.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the Meninist on YouTube. Case closed. What more do you want?
Hey, you know what? It's been fun. We hope to see you again real soon.
Until I come at you next week with something new, y'all have a great week. We love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.